Hello and welcome to our tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to kind of build on what we did in the last one, which was motion tracking. So we're going to put a 3D model in a 2D piece of video. So not to repeat what I did in the last one, but we've put in a series of tracking points here. So there's 8 tracking points. We have a solve value of about 0.3. So these markers will track the position of these pillars in this underground car park. And I would like to thank, who am I thanking? Free stock footage, because that's where I got this on YouTube. So that's already tracked this video footage with these points. I've taken this point, and this point, and said that's the floor. And I think I've taken that point there and said that is the origin, and then I said set as background, set up tracking scene. So let's go back to our default setup and look through the camera, and let's not do that. Let's see what we've got. So here is our camera here. As we slide backwards and forwards through our timeline, we can see the camera here animating. Now this character is the same character we used in the last video, so he already has an animation on him. So what I want to do is I want to position this character such that he comes out from behind this pillar. So let's just go to wireframe here for a second. I'm just going to scale. Let's go into, where will we do? Just click there, and we will scale this character up. Okay, and then we can have the character. So let's just go G, move this to here. I'm going to have the character emerge from behind that pillar as we move forward. So, and that's what we're going to look at, how to do that in this video tutorial. So masking. Now, first of all, let's just make sure that the 3D mesh is in between this point, these two, this empty here and this empty here. So these are the two empties in question. Now, I don't actually have to be between them. Let's just place that there and run our timeline. So we're emerging here. So I can cheat it if I wanted. There will be of no real consequence, but it'll, I think, look more effective if the character is physically in the right position. So this ground plane here is what's our shadow catcher. So let's just have a quick look and make sure that our character is in contact with that as it walks across, and we're slightly off, which will give us a minor error on our shadow. So not a perfect animation or walk cycle, but that will do. So now what we want to do is we want to apply a mask. So I'm just going to save this, and we're going to move on to applying the mask. So this is sort of our setup. So we have our ground plane in the correct position. We have tracked the video footage, and we've positioned the 3D character in physically in the right position so that it can emerge from behind this pillar. So the next part of this is actually quite straightforward and probably less complex than you might imagine. So there are methods to do masking within Blender, but for this, what we're going to do is we're going to very simply create a plane that covers this pillar. So I have my origin point here, so I'm going to add so Shift A, I was going to add a plane, I'm going to rotate that on X by 90 degrees and move it up to here. I'm going to try and zoom in as best I can, and we will actually, let's look from above here and see where we are. So we actually have, because we have pinned these 2 points at the bottom of the pillar, we can actually see exactly where it should go. So I'm going to take these and place them here, and take these 2 and place them here. And now when I look through, I can see that they've both are in approximately the right place. So I can go GZ and lift that up there, and then I can take these 2 and I'm going to go extrude, extrude to there. Oops. I hit E there instead of G. Now I'm going to, yeah, so they've got it's not a continuation, it's not flat. So this here is going to be my my pillar, and it will obscure my character. So I just want to make sure that I am completely flush with the side of the pillar, or we'll get a strange anomaly. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to go U, project from view, and it's going to unwrap this wall, so we'll call it wall here. We're going to project it from view, so it's going to unwrap it in this exact position in the UV image editor. So if we look over here, that's it in the UV image editor. Now we've already got the video footage imported, so we can just make sure in the UV image editor that it lines up here, and we can move this one in. Now we don't see the robot on this side, but if the robot was walking from this side behind the pillar and across, then we could, this would have to be more exact. So that's fine, and now we just need to set that up as a material. So I'm going to very quickly change to the node editor. I'm going to go new and call this wall, and I'm going to replace the diffuse texture here with a principled, or diffuse shader, with a principled shader. So I'm going to place that there, and then I'm going to add an image texture, connect that, and use my video here. Now what's important in this, it says it's a movie. Now normally what you do is you would stipulate, you bring in a movie and load every frame of the movie in. So we're saying that we want the it to cycle, so we want it on every frame. We can auto refresh it, but we're only saying it's 1 frame long because we want to use the same frame over and over again. If we don't do that, if we actually stipulate the length of the video, then the pattern or the part of the UV texture that's being displayed here will change, and we don't want that. We want it to stay static and have the same texture on it as it does in frame 1. So let's see if that works. So we will go File, Save, and we'll just pick a random frame here, and we will render. We'll press F12. And I'm just going to pause this until it finishes rendering. Okay, so this is my finished render. It didn't take that long, it took about 20 seconds. Now you can see that it's far from perfect, so the wall has moved, so we need to go fix that, and also it's casting a shadow, and that's primarily because we haven't done anything with lighting. So the first thing we're going to do is we'll fix the lighting, and then we'll come back and look at the position of this wall. Okay, so let's just address our 2 issues, which is the texture of the wall and the lighting. So let's work with the lighting first. So we have a series of sort of small area lights here, yet in our scene we have this guy here. So we're going to delete that. I'm going to go over, let's say, use nodes in our world. Just make sure we turn off ambient occlusion for now anyway. And if we look through here, it should be roughly the main source of light is this point here, which is sort of directly opposite our character. So I'm going to add here a lamp, and I'm going to add an area lamp, and then I'm going to set the, so that's my area lamp there, and it's a square, so I'm going to set the size of it to roughly 1 meter. And if we look from the front, so we'll lift it up to here, and then if we look through our camera, we can position it with a little more accuracy relative to the screen, or to the image in the carriage. Okay, so let's take a quick rendered view of that. So that's illuminating the character well. There's also obviously an additional light beyond that. So if we look from above, and we take this, we're just going to duplicate it and move it forward. And although that's not visible in the like by the camera, it is obviously, it'll illuminate the wall here. So that's, and that's a very crude approximation, obviously. So that's roughly our lighting done, so we'll just save that. So we have a rough sort of illumination of our wall and our character. Now the last thing we need to do is have a look at the texture on this wall and why it doesn't look so good. And one of the reasons is this edge here. So if I just take this wall here and I press H and I hide it, and I go back in here, and all we can see now is the video. So as I scrub through the video, the character walks in. So what we're actually seeing is we're getting a little bit more of this side texture here than at the beginning, where we're a bit flat. So what we've actually done is we've drawn, so if I unhide this, so this wall actually doesn't end here, it ends roughly where my mouse is. So if I select it and go into edit mode and select those two and do this, it actually ends roughly approximately there. And what we're seeing in the rest of it, so let's move it a tiny bit forward, is a wall that is more three-dimensional. So is there. So this is why the wall doesn't look quite so well as a mask when we're traveling around it. So what's the solution to that? Well, we can treat these as two completely separate objects. So I can select this here, and I can go P, separate by selection, and go to object mode. So select just that one here, and we'll call this wall 2, because we're very original. And we can move to a later frame with wall 2 and unwrap it for that frame, and we'll see more of the wall. So now what might be easier in this instance here is, rather than working with the video, is to take this video and go full screen with it and just take a screen grab and then unwrap it off as two separate individual stills. But for now we'll just go with the video. So so I'm going to take this and I'm going to select it all. I'm going to go U, projection view, and we can go back here to our UV image editor excuse me, and get rid of our rendered result, and then we can load in our video footage, and then we can create So we have wall, and then wall 001, so we'll call this wall 2. And this one, in our node editor, is the same set of nodes, but we're going to say it's 150 frames long, and we want to start at frame 150. Now, let's see what we get. Let's look at it here without the video in the background to distract us. So, the original piece of wall has an error in the unwrap in it, so, and that may be to do, yeah, let's see why that is. Okay, so let's go to the node editor. Okay, so we go to Z, so that's fine. And now let's pick this one. Aha. So this is also wall 2, so let's call this, go back to wall 1, and this is, we want, so start at frame 1 and end at frame 1, so yeah, so we've put a different material on this, so now let's see. So, now, nope, wrong one, UV image editor. This is our wall. Let's load in our video. And so we just need to take this here and move it back to there. Okay, so little bits of tweaking, but hopefully we'll get us a better result. So file and save. So let's look through now. So we're in rendered mode here. I'm just going to scrub very gently. And my machine's not the fastest in the world, but it'll give us hopefully a very simple idea of what this will look like when rendered. Okay, so we'll take that frame there, and we will. We can see that there is a slight disparity here in the two textures, but we'll press F12 and render that out. Only 20 seconds, we'll wait to 20 seconds. Yeah, so we need to stretch this texture a little bit so that it's not, that the blue wraps all the way around. Okay, so there's our character emerging from behind the pillar. So it's, far from perfect, but not bad at all. There's one or two other small things we should probably do in the compositor. Simple things like if you look at this video very closely, there's a bit of grain in it, and so there's more sort of pixelation and grain here than there is in this. So you might have to add a bit of noise into it to make it integrate a little bit better. But that's not too bad a result. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause the recording and then render it out as a piece of video, and we'll have a look at the final result. Okay, so we have reached the last frame. That took a little while to do because I had 150 frames, and I believe this is the video here. So you can see I've got a whole bunch of fireflies here that I need to rid myself of. But in terms of the pillar, again, there's one or two little sort of, I suppose it's got the same sort of patterns over here. That's not unbelievable as a mask. So the character emerging from behind it, and the shadow is not bad either. So it's straightforward enough. It's like I said, this tutorial is sort of an extension of the one that preceded it. So it's just to show you how to block out areas and UV unwrap from video. So we'll leave it there for now.